Cheyenne now looked at the stalls. She desperately needed a distraction. Some offered food, mainly fish, but she was also able to discover vegetables and some fruit. The girl liked the souvenir stalls best. There were beautiful shells and pearls in many colors, also necklaces and other jewelry. Another dealer offered wooden figures that looked incredibly real and enchanting. Cheyenne knew she couldn't buy any of this, but she still enjoyed the sight of all these beautiful things and forgot her worries for a while. When she had looked through all the stalls, the chroma stars in the sky had already become paler, and it would be light for about an hour, then the dark night would dawn. The girl now wanted to wait for Sasha. She hoped that her friend had been successful and could sell the horses for good money. Adukas and his owner walked side by side to the white, colorful stone wall. There were no more people sitting on it, except for one person. Glaczio. Cheyenne had nothing left to lose, so she decided to just ask him now. She wanted to know why he had changed so much from one second to the next towards her. She didn't care how he would react now. Maybe it was the last time she saw him anyway. She took a deep breath in and out, and then the girl walked up to him, accompanied by the fairy wolf. The healer didn't say anything, just raised his head a little and stared at the sea. Cheyenne closed her eyes for a moment to collect herself, then opened them again and resolutely asked him the last question before they parted ways forever. This time she would demand an answer and will not leave again, as she did last time. She wanted to know only one reason, nothing more. Glaczio, I'll leave right away if you answer a single question. If you refuse, I'll stop here and talk to you until it annoys you and spoils your day even more. Get it? The only thing I want to know is, why did you change so much towards me from one second to the next? What did I do to you? I just want to hear one reason. Then you'll be rid of me forever and ever. I promise you. Please, tell me why. The healer sighed long and deep. Then he spoke to Cheyenne in a calm voice. Sit down. The girl was surprised, but she did what he had asked her to do. Adukas lay down behind his owner and growled every now and then. After she had sat down next to him at a distance of about half a meter, she looked at Glaczio expectantly. He was still staring at the sea, but then he began to speak. It was the first time since the escape from Saralay that he spoke normally to Cheyenne again. So you really want to know, chosen one, huh? As you wish. Where do I start? One reason I have changed my behavior towards you so much, There are several. If I tell you my reasons, you won't understand them at first, and I'm sure you want to know the rest. Well, then I can tell you the whole truth right away. It doesn't matter if you know it or not. Our paths will part tomorrow morning anyway. So, it started in Saralay, didn't it? When the knights played so badly with me. You saved me and even had compassion for me, even though you always find me so nerve-killing. It's amazing how kind you are. Basically, I have no problem with pity, unless it comes from the chosen one of darkness, whose birth is to blame for the death of my family. I know it's not your fault that you were born, but that you can't help it I had completely forgotten at that moment. The nights reminded me of my past, which I had repressed. When you were worried about me, wanted to talk to me, wanted to help me so that I would feel better, I just couldn't help it. You, the chosen one of darkness, have compassion on me, her greatest enemy, whom she had since her birth and 3 years before that. I couldn't let you be so kind to your mortal enemy. I know I hurt you the whole time, which was not easy for me at times, but I hope you were able to use the pain to your advantage and gain strength of soul. Then everything would have a good side. I hope you're more careful now and don't trust everyone right away. You know, a chosen one must be strong and wise. If you stay the way you are, naive and fearful, then I guarantee that your life will be a short one. I know what you want to say now. You don't want to be the chosen one of darkness and are looking for a way to avoid your duties that is beneficial to all of us. But there is no such thing for you, believe me. Either you accept your fate and walk on the path predestined for you, or you withdraw from your purpose in life and choose the freedom to determine your own life, like me. But if you choose the latter, the world will come to an end, unless you find a way to save the world while following your destiny, but still making free choices. But I'm afraid that to go down this path you need a very strong soul, which you don't have at the moment. However, I firmly believe that your soul will grow over time, become stronger, and one day be in full bloom. We are destined to be mortal enemies. Neither one of us can do anything about it. But I am still forever on your side because I have not accepted my fate. I didn't want to be complicit if the world came to an end, because I also want to go on living. My whole family paid with their lives for this decision, but I just couldn't submit to my destiny. That's why I was with you, protected you, and helped you wherever I could. Not only because you're the prettiest girl I've ever seen, but also because you're so important to the preservation of the world. Oh, by the way, you're not a disgrace, little angel. You're just quite extraordinary and amazingly kind for a chosen one. It's not your fault that the truth has been kept hidden from you and no one has ever prepared you for your life. That's why it's not true that I find you disappointing. On the contrary, your soul has a great potential for strength, because you have already experienced and participated in so much, seen so much horror. Of course, you were sometimes on the verge of giving up everything, but your character has never changed, and that, my sweetie, is really remarkable. I'm really sorry, but I had to treat you this way to prepare you for life out there. I knew that our paths would separate in the near future when you met Sasha, so I acted in the interest of all of us. You should know now how to deal better with your pity for enemies, no longer blindly trust everyone and also question someone. Your thinking skills have also been promoted, as I have observed, and saying goodbye is now easier for us in this way. I really wish you all the luck in the world, and when the day has come where light knights and shadow servants fight each other in a final battle to the death, I will stand on your side, finally conquer my fate, and thus seal my freedom. Forgive me for wasting your time on unnecessary talk. You've already received your answer. My reasons may not seem sensible enough for my behavior in your eyes, but they are enough for me. Despite all this, traveling with you was nice, apart from who you are. I'm sorry that everything has turned out this way, but it's only for your good. Glaczio finished his speech and wanted to get up, but Cheyenne stopped him. She had a hunch and wanted to know if she was right. Birth-related mortal enemies. Could it really be? Please wait a minute. Thank you for telling me all this, but what you're saying doesn't really make sense to me unless... Glaczio, you are the chosen one of light, aren't you? The healer lowered his head and sighed. Then he looked deep into the blood-red eyes of the girl with his ice-blue eyes. He turned away again and spoke to her in a low voice. I used to be. In the meantime, it's just a title that will probably haunt me for the rest of my life. But I haven't fulfilled my meaning and purpose as the chosen one for a long time. When I found out what the knights were up to, I began to no longer accept my fate and turned more and more against the light knighthood. But it wasn't until a year ago that I was finally able to tear myself away from them. But the price was high. I've already bored you enough with my stories, so I don't have to tell you my eternally long life story, little doll. Cheyenne could hardly believe what she just had learned. The whole time she had been on the road with the chosen one of light and hadn't noticed it. That's why all our enemies knew him, because he used to be on their side. Since he no longer wanted to help them destroy the world and seems to have somehow moved away from them, they now think he is a traitor and want to kill him. It's really hard for me to believe that someone like him should be the chosen one, but on the other hand, I'm not exactly a prime example. Unlike me, he can at least fight and assert himself, but the flirting and some other behaviors somehow don't quite fit his divine appearance. But maybe he's doing it because he doesn't want to be the chosen one. Maybe that's why he's changed so much in the last year, as Sasha told me. He was much worse off than I was when his job was to destroy the world we all live in. And now I also see why he behaved so meanly towards me. But basically, we share the same fate because we are both running away from our responsibility, only that it is justified with him unlike me. The girl didn't know what to think about first, but she wanted to hear his story first anyway. Maybe some questions would explain themselves. Her anger and hatred for him slowly dissipated, but she wouldn't be able to put her trust in him again after everything he'd done. Nevertheless, she hoped that he would tell her his life if she asked him very kindly. "You don't bore me. On the contrary, I'd love to hear your life story. Please tell me. Why didn't you tell me who you really are earlier?" Glaczio sighed and began to tell Cheyenne everything she wanted to know about himself, just as the girl had once done with the healer when they had first met in Media Silver. "Would you have believed me if I had said I was the chosen one of light, or would you have thought it was another lie? Even if you have felt it to be true, you would have been intimidated by it, would have immediately taken me for an enemy, and sent me away as soon as Sasha and I had told you our suspicion and the meaning of it. I couldn't tell you. Well, if you really want to know what has happened in my cursed life so far, I'll warn you right away. It's not a pretty story, just like yours. So, I was born 3 years before you, as you know. Even though I can't remember that time so well, it was probably the most beautiful of my whole life. I come from a wealthy family of doctors who had the best pharmacy with a healing practice, which existed in Exidoma Magna until a year ago. The entire knighthood of light had relied on my parents. In these 3 years I was almost idolized and revered as a chosen one. Every wish was fulfilled as far as I remember, and I was happy for a long time. But I was much further along in my development than all the other children of my age. So I was considered a child prodigy, which doesn't really seem so strange in a chosen one. Shortly before my 3rd birthday, they subjected me to experiments because of this. Well, the researchers hadn't thought it through well and didn't pay enough attention when my body reacted differently than planned. This inattentiveness error led to the fact that I have now an enormous hypotemperature since that day, as you have already noticed in Media Silver. Fortunately, my element would be ice, even without this fact. Since I am the chosen one of light, and therefore I was on the side of the Knights of Light, they naturally experimented mainly on my reaction to light. At that time this white glow was still completely new and unknown, because since the yin-yang age the research of the Knights had not yielded any useful results on it, but about 18 years ago the breakthrough came. Unfortunately, I still remember exactly what they did to me back then. A few researchers led me into a dark chamber and then exposed me to an enormous amount of light. The wild cold light has attacked my luminium structure and changed it in such a way that my body can no longer store heat. But somehow I can still live. I guess that's what you call luck. But it also has a good side. Through this experiment my healing ability has improved and I have been able to transmute and control luminium much more easily since then. I can even summon it in a non-physical form as minimally altered magic and attack enemies with light spells, as if it were normal elemental magic. This is similar to your slightly modified Black Umbrauro magic, which allows you to cast seemingly darkness spells. We live up to our titles, light and darkness. When this terrible experiment ended, I ran away and wandered through the city for a whole night, distraught. My body emitted white light for 8 hours after this experiment. I thought I was going to die at the time. Little children and their fantasies. But that night, I can remember something else, only blurred but still. I think I saw you as a baby in your mother's arms. Your eyes, your hairline. Not everyone looks like you, you know. I helped your mother flee from the Knights, if I remember correctly. But it only helped you because I saw with my own eyes how they beheaded your mother. Cheyenne caught her breath. Glaczio's life was already enormously difficult when he was so young. What was still to come? In contrast to hers had been easy so far. But one thing confused her. Wait a minute, you saw my mother when she was beheaded? But she died at my birth and was not killed. But the healer had an explanation. Maybe you were only told that because the truth would have been too cruel for you back then as a small child. Your grandparents probably just wanted to protect you. Cheyenne nodded, because the reason sounded plausible, and Glaczio continued. In any case, my life changed enormously from that day on. When it came to the chosen one, everyone, except for my family, began to doubt me. You were rumored to have a crystal, unlike me. Don't you think this is an extremely base motive? After all, the gods, if they exist, are also different. Maybe the goddess only gave you your crystal as a piece of jewelry because you're a girl, or to make you stand out from me. At that time, the knights had doubted me, but had not yet cast me out or something like that, because Atropax always said, "The time of Glaczio's need will come, and then you will all be glad that we have him on our side. Don't forget, he was given to us, and we can certainly still use him well." Ah yes, that's why I know him, by the way. He is the leader among the rulers, so to speak, and has therefore made it his special task to train me. He was like a second father to me back then. The other rulers have also taught me what they know, but in the meantime some of them are dead and have been replaced by new ones. After that, only Commandant Atropax and General Agamemnon trained me. When I was 6 years old, I met Sasha, and my parents helped her at my request. We were the best friends back then. But the knights have interfered and promised her a home if she lets experiments be done on her. She was young and naive and accepted because my parents advised her to do so at the threat of the knights. But I'm not going to tell you about her. She'll have to do it herself, as I've already told you once. Forgive me. Well, back to the topic. The older I got, the more I learned, and one day when I read research reports in the library, I found out that the way of the knights was probably going to destroy the world, and I rebelled against them. But because I already knew all their secrets at that time, it was too risky to let me go. I could have approached the shadow servants and told them all the plans. So they threatened me a bit and played with Sasha's life here and there to keep me in check. I didn't want her to get hurt anymore, and I complied. When I was 18, I met a girl. We fell in love, got engaged at the insistence of the knights, and celebrated our wedding a short time later, which we would have done sooner or later anyway, even without their demand. It seemed strange to me that they married us at such a young age and after such a short time of getting to know each other, but it was in their and my interest, so we let it happen. If I had known what I did to her with it, I would have not allowed myself to fall in love with her. Because one day, a year ago, the king wanted me to use my healing powers because of a tiny scratch on his hand that you couldn't even see properly. I refused and said I'd rather save my strength for the people who were really badly off, but the knights didn't like that. There was a heated discussion, and the king told me that I only had my wife at the time because he paid her father. It would have been pure coincidence that she had fallen in love with me, and she would only be reserved for me to pass on my divine genes, so that they would not be lost in case something happened to me and I died. That was enough for me. I got angry and I told the king my opinion properly, but that was a big mistake. At the same time, unfortunately, the most liberating thing I've ever done. The knights attacked me and we fought for a long time before I was able to escape with serious injuries. They just stalled me, as I had to realize, because when I ran home to tell my parents what I had done, the whole house was on fire and it smelled of burnt human flesh. In front of the door I saw 2 knights injuring my beloved wife and then throwing her into the flames. Her cry when she was burned miserably alive I will never forget in my whole life. My mother, father, sister, and wife. My whole family was killed because of a single ill-considered act on my part, and in the most cruel way. I couldn't help them anymore. I couldn't do anything to undo my mistake. I didn't know what to do or where to go. Then I remembered Sasha and I wanted to see if at least she was okay. But the knights had also played badly with her and I couldn't stand the situation anymore and fled the capital. You already know the rest. I roamed the country chasing girls, partly to distract me, until we met and I traveled around with you.